Good morning. Well, depending on when you see this, might be morning, afternoon, or anything else. So I'm having one of those tell them why you're mad moments because with all this political stuff going on, I keep hearing about pandering and who's getting what for who. And my question is, when did people stop asking for stuff for their votes? And this is something that, I'm going to have one of those play the race card moments. I also feel like, well, how come they're not bribing black people? I mean, what part of the country are you in, Pat? And are they pandering to anybody in your area saying, hey, we'll give you guys stuff for our vote, which I think is the right thing to do?
I don't know that that's necessarily happening. I don't keep my ear to the ground as acutely as I should, I guess. I think that here in Colorado, there's a lot of pandering to the more liberal side of the spectrum, because Colorado is a state where you definitely have two differing systems that are at loggerheads, because there's plenty of conservative, rural, to use a politically incorrect term, redneck types here, but then also in the areas around Colorado Springs, Denver, Boulder, and these places, you have plenty of the typical liberal types who are definitely all about everybody's freedom of expression until you say something that pisses them off, and then they want to shut you down. So they definitely have plenty of representation on both sides here. I'm not sure that I've seen too much pandering, but then again, I don't keep my ear to the ground as acutely as I should, I guess.
Where are you, Kenna?
Currently, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, but I live in California.
Are you as politically astute as Pat, or no?
No, I'm not really. Oddly, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, which is my hometown, and I've been, I guess, following the city council races here in this particular area. But no, I could stand to spend more time finding out more about the local races and things that's going on here in my local town of Oxnard, California. But I don't follow it very closely. I do vote, but I don't follow it very closely.
Well, wait. How can you vote without following it? That seems slightly irresponsible. Kind of like just
not like that. There are certain things that you're concerned about. Who the mayor of your city is going to be, who the governor will be, things of that nature. So definitely, before I vote, I always take a few moments to look up. Okay. Is this something I'm interested in? Does this benefit my community and things of that nature before I just, go out and blindly just vote for whoever?
For a minute, it sounded like you were a party line voter.
Not necessarily so.
Wait, for people watching, a party line voter is someone who says, I'm a member of this political party, so I'll either not vote or I will only vote for somebody in this political party. And party line voters, in my opinion, are the bane of my existence. They just irk me.
It's interesting you should say that. I don't know what they do in other areas, but in the area that I live in, California, whatever your party is, they send out notices, and it's basically it's almost like I'll call it like a dummy sheet that basically says if you're independent, if you're a Democrat, Republican, or whatever your party line is, it's a little sheet. It tells you everybody to vote for. So I think I go to the polls and I see people with their little sheet, and it's without any thought at all. So I see a lot of that. I don't know if you've seen that in other places, but in California they do that.
Well, honestly, when I go to a voting booth, it's kind of like going to the bathroom for me. I try really hard. I don't want to look at anybody. I'm not there for a conversation. I just keep my head, just go to where I'm going to go because I don't want to see something that's going to upset me. I don't want someone to come and talk to me. Now, they do have an area outside of which you can't campaign or canvass.
Right.
But people, they like to habitually line step. They like to get close to that line. But the question I always have for people is, okay, you're going to vote for this guy. What's he going to give you? And what you said was right. If we start just on a local municipality level, because you're in Colorado, right? But what is your district area called, Pat?
I don't know what you mean specifically.
Inside the city, you have different areas, people who are voted for your councilmen, your aldermen, things like that.
Oh, yes. Well, technically, I guess I'm not part of the Denver proper area. I live in unincorporated Jefferson County, so difficult for me to really nail that down. I would guess there would be, some sort of county level individual that I would vote for, which I haven't done in the 2 years that I've been here, simply because I haven't seen anything about it. I don't know who the folks are that run the county. I simply go to work every day and come on home. Although I am starting to wake up a little bit more to what is going on. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, a couple of things that are coming up for vote here in the state are things like state public revenue, and I believe there's going to be a referendum on sports betting. So I have received something political recently, but nothing charged either left or right. This is actually simply from the state voting board, and it says, okay, here's what's going on, and this is what it means. And it seems to be, generally speaking, very middle of the road as far as explanation is concerned, and not really politically charged one way or the other as far as what you should do, what you should vote for, and what you shouldn't.
So an unincorporated area, you have all the same voting rights and privileges as everyone else, though, right?
I would assume as much, yes. Now, there may be some things that I'm not necessarily privy to based on where I am, but I would think those are few and far between, because despite the fact that I am in an unincorporated area, it's still part of the Denver metropolitan area, I would assume. So the political level may not go down as far as reaching from, to each little, town that makes up the Denver metropolitan area. But again, I can't say, 100% what that level is, because I just have not kept my finger on that pulse.
Gotcha. Because one of the things I found, I have a couple of friends who live in quote unquote rural and unincorporated areas that found out something very interesting that terrified them. And it was how easy it was to get elected to a public office. And they said that what most people forget is everybody focuses on the mayor and this and that, but nobody wants to talk about the guy who's in charge of, I don't know, making sure the school lunch program is run correctly. Mm-hmm. The guy who makes sure that animals are put down humanely if necessary and only by government. I mean, those are actual positions. Like they used to joke about he couldn't get elected dog catcher. Well, the Animal Control Board is real and they have real power. And they can really put people in jail for abusing their animals. Hey, BK from the Rockies. Hey, good morning, BK. Thanks for popping in. And so what I ask is that at what point did we stop saying it's a good idea in America, so that if you stop by my house with a pamphlet saying vote for me, or stop by my internet or pop onto my phone and say vote for me, and I say, okay, what's in it for me? I don't care what your political affiliation is. My grandmother's got garbage piling up in her place. Can you make sure that gets moved? Sure, I'll vote for you. My kids go to a school that's overcrowded. If you can get me a guarantee somewhere that says 30 kids and no more, 20 kids and no more, just something tangible, because that's a word, a new buzzword that we're using. I don't want promises, I want tangibles. What can you put in my hand? And one of the things I've learned is that my friends, a lot of them are politically to the right of the spectrum, are just outright mercenaries. They're like, look, if you give me stuff, I will vote for you. Whereas you have on the left side, and by the way, I'm actually in the process of changing to an independent. I want to put that out there. There's this purity test. It's like, no, we should just vote together because family.
Right. Very kumbaya.
Yeah. If we just hold hands long enough and do the right thing, air quotes, right thing, it'll come together. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. That's not how politics works.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you brought an interesting point up, especially talking about, what will these candidates do for you? And, I don't know about you, Patrick, not Patrick. It is Patrick. Sorry. The thing that annoys me, especially with politicians, especially around this time, is you speaking about, the trash piling up or the dog issues or whatever. Don't laugh at me when I say this. The thing that annoys me about politicians during campaign season is the waste of paper. my mailbox will be stuffed to the rim with so many brochures, and I'm thinking this paper could be used for schools to do some creative artwork or something like that. And I look at how much waste and how much, obviously I'm going to recycle that paper, but I think, I don't know, they should maybe come up with a different way to try to get us interested in what are you going to do? Like, hey, we're going to stop wasting paper, filling up my, mailbox with junk. Can this go towards school? Can this go to another thing? It's something, I don't know. It bothers me personally. So I don't know about you all.
I can understand where you're coming from.
That's environmental, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can definitely understand where you're coming from, but here's the counterpoint to that. We are in the digital age, and everybody has email and various means and methods to digitally get a hold of someone. But if you're intelligent about what you're doing, then you as a person, you have these filters on your email, and you have certain settings as far as notifications and things of that nature, where you can put all that aside if you don't want to have it. If you if your mailbox gets just every day you got something political coming in. I ended up on a couple of lists. I've trying to figure out how I get away from it. But as soon as you click that unsubscribe button, then they sell your email or phone number or whatever have you to some other list, and it ends up compounding itself. But that being the case, if you're the type of person, I think that most people are, when they see a lot of this stuff, they're like, oh my God, I've got way too much crap in my inbox. So they set up those filters, and everything from those political parties or representatives or candidates or whatever goes into that spam box. So the political individual, whoever they are, says, well, how exactly do I get my message through to these people who, across the board do not want to hear anything from anybody political and are sending all of my emails to their spam box and then doing a mass delete? I'll send them a piece of paper, because that piece of paper then needs to be dealt with, because it has to be pulled out of the mailbox.
They have to touch it, physically touch it.
That's right. They have to have some sort of physical interaction with the message. And if they can make the message big enough and catchy enough and colorful enough to catch someone's eye for a second, rather than just automatically going to the spam folder as it would on email or something of this nature, then maybe I have a better shot. And there are probably metrics out there that tell you that you have a little bit better opportunity to do that. So they're more than happy to waste that paper, because they say, well, these people will deal with it in their own way. Either they'll throw it away or they will recycle it, and it will go eventually to a good cause, like a school or something of this nature. But right now, I want to use that paper to gain as much political capital as I can with the voters that are in my district or in my area. So that's the counterpoint to it, despite the fact that it's not ecologically sound to do something like that. They don't care, because a lot of political candidates don't give a damn about anything until they get elected.
Exactly.
Or in the process of getting elected, all kinds of things will go out the window. They'll say, oh, I promised to do this, and I swear to do that, and I'm going to be your man when I get into office. But right now, it is mercenary warfare, and I have got to do whatever it takes to get into that office, as opposed to the other guy. So a lot of things are definitely bargained away during that process. Even somebody who professes to be a champion of the environment will send out far more paper than they should, and it'll be of the type that is certain sheens and coatings on the paper that makes it unrecyclable, but yet they'll do it because it's flashy.
Exactly.
Well,
that'll help them get elected.
BMT, Blackmail Talkie, said that's not bribery, that's obligated duty. I've been in town council and have never had to use bribery. Fair enough. We can argue words, but for you to get to town council and stay in town council, there's a group of people that you looked at and said, I will give you stuff, and in return for this stuff, you will vote for me. Now, I'm not going to argue whether or not it's good stuff or bad stuff, but people who don't ask you for stuff are people you can take for granted. And for the record, BMT, you're always welcome to come up and join the conversation. My door is always open for you. But that's what I'm getting at. The word bribery, hey, we can talk about it. We can talk about favors. We can call obligated duty. But you have an obligated duty to realize you don't get elected for free. No one should. No one should freely give away their vote. And then when you get to the issue of, there's a phrase that I heard, and I don't know who said it first. I'm going to Google it because I don't want to pretend something is my words when they're not. They were called the priority minority. Has anyone here heard that phrase before?
I have not.
Okay.
Sounds like something I'd come up with, but no.
And I can't find it. I can't find the priority minority. So if anyone can help me figure out who said priority minority first. When you have a group of people that represent some of the least educated, but most necessary to make the economic capitalist machine work, you do pander to them a bit. There was a time when Black Americans, even though they had been denied education and opportunity, were a lot of the blue-collar workers. So they would give you stuff. They would give you neighborhoods. They would say, well, we'll make sure everything is clean, and we'll do all these other things. But now we have an influx of people from all over the world. I'm not going to point the finger at any one country, who say, well, we'll do the jobs they used to do, who perhaps some of them, like me or like Ken, I have graduated out of, and we'll do it at half the cost. Okay, fair enough. But now, where do all the people who didn't get out, like Kenna and I, go from there? Because they never asked for anything for their stuff. So now they're being looked at as, well, we'll just replace you, but still keep your vote based on benefits that we may have given your grandparents.
Yeah, so they're still not promising anything. You're making me think of something. A few years ago, I was in, you're going to laugh at this story. I was in India, it's like 2016. And speaking of giving things to people, I don't remember exactly what was going on, but the time that I was there, there was a local election. And do you know what they promised the local people?
Huh.
They promised that they would give the local people cell phones and laptops for vote.
Wait. This is interesting.
Cell phones and laptops for their votes. So they kind of locked down the city a little bit. Uh-oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good, because the static left. So anyway, they promised that they would give the local people, and it was on the news, they were offering laptops and cell phones for their votes. And it was probably the most bizarre thing that I ever seen. They basically shut off the city for alcohol just in case there were going to be some problems. I remember the hotel I was in, they were like, oh, this is normal here. And I'm thinking, laptops and cell phones. I need a new laptop. Do I need to vote here? What do I need to do? So, but apparently was the, how they do business in that particular area. I was in, this was Chennai, India, 2016 election time. I remember the night of the election, there were looked like smoke bombs going off all over the place. I guess people were excited about their cell phones and laptops. I don't know if they received them or not, but that's what they said that they would receive.
Let me back up for a second. Well, first, was there any precedent before that for anybody getting a cell phone or a laptop for their vote?
I have to think in that particular area that this is probably the norm of them promising things. So because it seemed like very casual, oh, laptops. So people are, yeah, we're getting laptops and cell phones. I'm thinking, this would never work in America, I mean, not saying that it couldn't, but I just don't
would
think
you might be wrong there.
I don't know. I mean, we would actually receive them. I mean, maybe they would say that, hey, I will give you this, but would you ever receive it? I mean, speaking of things, look at that recent, what was it? There was something on Facebook recently about, I guess there was a breach and they were offering people $125 through Equifax or something like that. So everybody went, their name was on the list. They're expecting $125. And now the company says, oh, we can't give it to you. So you'd have to have some type of way to say, hey, we're going to give you this cell phone, this laptop, or whatever this item is that you would want.
Well, let me back up. Two things. One, BMT, I want you to check your email because I need you to come back and I need you to also explain that comment to us when you go live. Two, Dave, can I send you a link? Would you like to join the team? The door is always open. Miss talking to you. We haven't talked in a long time. And some of you might remember Dave. But Dave, you come up with all these good ideas like we could use blockchain technology. Why don't you just open your camera on your notebook and join the show?
Come on, Dave.
For those of you who don't know Dave, Dave is a stalwart friend and someone who comes with some opinions that will make you think, if nothing else. And back up, Gonway, say hello.
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Hello.
Gonway is a buddy of mine. We actually met in Brazil. He goes back and forth to the United States. He's headed back to Brazil. He's a world traveler, hustler, does a whole lot of amazing things. But what was your first take when you read that, Gonway?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to catch up because I just walked in like the middle of the conversation, so I'm completely lost.
Just
I'm lost.
See, then Dave will leave something like that just to be inflammatory. Trump's still gonna win, blah blah blah. Andrew Yang will usher in blockchain voted along with my $1,000. Dave, I'm sending you this link. I want you to check your email. Let me see. Let's put that in here. I can't do two things at once, so if I'm typing, I can't. There we go. All right. So, Dave, I want you to check your email as well as BMT. But no, going back to what you said, when I lived in Bangkok, Thailand, there was a situation where I forget who it was. He was running for president, prime minister. They also had an emperor king at the time. And they went to the countryside, and one of the families, I believe they owned a telecommunications firm. And what they did is they told everyone, hey, we're just going to give everybody out here free telephones or telephone minutes for like a month. Remember who was your friend. And they actually did it because in that country, they had they did not have the laws that restricted that. And they just gave everybody like a month of free cell phone use. Now, here's what's scary. How destitute do you have to be for your vote to be purchased so cheaply? Is that part of the political scheme to make sure there are people who have so little, there we go. He said, there we go. Bam. There are people who have so little that you can bribe them with something that should be affordable. I've been in countries where during political season, they just hand out giant bags of rice and flour because the people need it so badly. Now, in America, maybe our equivalent to rice and flour. I wonder what would happen if a political candidate said, listen, get me in the office and all these kids are going to get new MacBook Pros.
You already know.
What do you mean I already know?
You know what happened. I mean, I think, I don't know, because that's a little tricky. I mean, would they have to prove that they actually voted for the person to receive whatever benefit that they're promised? How would they know? Would you have to show it?
I don't know.
Because what voting process gives you a receipt?
Mm-hmm.
There would be no way because by definition, our voting process is supposed to be something that secret ballot, as it were. They make a lot of fanfare around the fact that you did vote, but your actual preference is supposed to be private, and that's one of those solemn contracts that's been between the government and the voter for a very long time, is that who you voted for is that is to remain secret. Whether or not you voted can actually, I believe there are some statutes that allow for that information to be released, actually, whether or not you voted, but not necessarily who you voted for.
I think you're correct. If I'm not mistaken, you can find out if someone did vote, but you cannot find out. And I'm not even sure if that's something that I'm not sure that's something that you can even do, though. Like, because now you're in a situation where, I mean, I know you can get your little pin that says, yay, look at me, I voted. But can you act? I'm still not stuck on that. If anybody wants to Google around on that and let me know what you find, because that's something that's the concept of being able to use whether or not someone voted as a criteria for anything seems like it infringes somewhere in the Constitution that it tickles the back of my mind, but I'm not quite sure.
Right. I remember something. It's very vague, but there is something in the back of my mind. There was a rant on some sort of social media, whether it be Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever have you, that talked about voting and wanted to hold people accountable. And the talking head, whoever it was that happened to be going on the rant at the time, suffered a great deal of backlash because they actually didn't vote themselves. And so there they were on their soapbox berating, I think, the general public for not exercising the vote. And there they were in all their hypocrisy. And someone actually used the internet or the research powers that they had and found out, oh yeah, by the way, while you're standing there on your soapbox, you didn't vote either. So I know that portion of information is actually attainable, but who you voted for, that's absolutely sacred, I guess. So, in trying to, curry that favor and give people stuff, I guess if somebody were to try to do that, they'd have to keep it fairly nuclear. It would have to be small and say, okay, if this community votes my way, by a certain percentage or certain margin, then I could pay off on this dividend, whatever it was I promised them. That you might be able to do. And then, of course, you do run the risk of giving stuff to people who didn't vote for you. But I would think that'd be the only way to really put something like that out there, because there is no receipt. There is no way, unless you take your phone into the voting booth and snap a shot of what you've done, or wear a GoPro into the voting booth, so that it can watch you vote and click and punch for whoever it is that you're voting for. There is no other way to provide evidence of who you voted for. So that would be difficult logistically to work out on a person-by-person basis, but I think you could do it on a little bit more broad spectrum. Just, promising a laptop to every child in the state, boy, that's going to get expensive.
So let me go over that. Actually, what I have here, since y'all want to bring that up, these are actually laptops that are given to every kid in Berkeley County, right here. Every kid gets a laptop. That's from my county district board of education. When you talk about bribery, it's a double-edged sword. That's why.
Right.
That's why when I look at it, those who use bribery always get caught up in stuff. I don't use bribery, but I get why it's said. But when you use bribery, then you're owned. You're obligated to people, and dealing with the fluctuation of stuff. I think each notepad costs at least about $280, and you're talking about giving, I think at least about 1,600 kids $280 a piece of hardware that is owned by the state. And if they break that, that means the parent is owned by that. You see, when we do these type of things of bribery, and you have a bad day or a month where you can't get to it, then now it's the scrutiny. Now it's your name's going to get dragged. Now you are then you're starting to look at the politician being put on the newspaper and everything. And not to say some people are do it, but in my seniority of doing it, I always tell people stay away from it, because somebody's going to always own you. Somebody's going to show up to the courthouse. Well, you promised this. And see, once they say you promised that, then it's like, ooh, now they're going to hold you to it. See, you don't make something you never talk about a check that you just can't cash, I guess how you say it. And like the guy who said, I believe all kids deserve a fair education, because we already know every parent can't afford a laptop. So they're like, well, what we'll do is, if y'all willing to, we'll increase the taxes, just at least about $3. But at least with the $3, everybody gets a return investment for their kids to have a laptop. You get what I'm saying? So that worked out pretty fine, because all kids now have laptops. Now, granted,
let me back up for a second. The person who proposed the additional $3 tax, because that's what happened, right? They proposed an additional tax for laptops, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the laptops were not a result of someone saying, if I am put in office, I will give you these laptops. That's not what happened.
No, they told when they get in, they told us, if I become in charge of the school board, this is what's going to happen. I plan to it's going to go up $3, but in $3, I know y'all don't want to hear that, but nobody wants taxes to go up. Kids' education where they all can do online homework will definitely increase. So that way you'll be in more connect with the teachers. I know for students, they don't show up to school, you can get charged $100 for a kid not showing up to school. So, see what I'm saying? But if you got a laptop, which every kid from low income has, because let's be for real, we're in the South, low income is almost everywhere. They're secure. So when we're looking at these areas like Denver, Carolinas, and different areas that have different deficits of, I'm sure they hit different deficits of income, you want to attack that. You want to talk about that. When you start taking checks from other people, that's a check you got to pay back. You get what I'm saying? And I get it with the rice and the food and the meal and stuff. America was so much a bottle of prepaid cell phones and healthcare. Let's just be for real. That was the bribery tool. But then again, what happened? The other people were like, yo, I don't need healthcare. I already got healthcare. Shit. See, now everybody got to cash a check. Everybody got to pay that check back. And that's the thing about it. When it comes to the bribery game, that is, let's be for real. Trump got in not off of bribery. He paid him some way in. That's why he's an unhinged dog. When you're a dog that gets paid through with the bribery, that's a more devious dog because they're not in control. Other people are in control of them. And that's the problem that we're having with politics now is if the church pays Yusef to get in, he's now obligated by the church, not the people. If I pay Patrick for the school board, he's obligated by whatever committee just paid him. And that's the thing about it. That's why the bribery thing, I get it. I'm not, like I said, I'm not bucking against you, Yusef, because every majority of people, they get, some of them, if they don't have it or they don't have the guile, you know, and it's very rare that somebody can actually just get in off of just, this is what we need. Let's be for real, we're poor. But if you let me do it, you know what I'm saying? It's very rare to have somebody off of ground level get in. And if they do get in, that's somebody of the people. But the people who do not come from your situation and just get in and say, I can do X, Y, and Z, just put me in for $200. And I'm not going to lie. I have given people money to get in office. I have paid people and said, hey, let me pay for you to become a candidate, you know? And they were like, I don't know.
Wait, back up. Help me understand that. You said you've paid for people to become a candidate. Can you unpack that for us? Because I don't understand. I'm sure somebody listening might not understand.
Okay, so what happens is, and this happens often a lot, some people are trained to become candidates. Some people can become a candidate. There's people who are trained to become candidates. There are people who just want to be a candidate, but they feel like they're needed for the job. And there are people who already are good for the job, but to understand if I take that job, I don't know, man. I don't want the responsibility. Sometimes if I know I'm going to step down from office, I'm like, listen, Yusef, you're the best man for the job. Nah, I don't want to go in there. I'll tell you what, let me pay for you to go in. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I know you're the guy for it. Let me just pay for your candidacy. Let me put down $1,300. We believe that you can make it. And some places do that, where they believe that there are people that are made for the job. They're not right.
Let me back up. But first, before I say anything, Kenna, Patrick, Conway, did you have anything you want to interject?
Actually, yes.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Kenny, you want to go first? Ladies first.
Yeah, I'll just be really quick. BMT, you said something earlier about how candidates will promise things, and then you mentioned how people would actually show up down at city council or the mayor's office or whatever demanding things. But I wanted to say, I don't know if that's actually 100% true. Look at past presidents that have promised us no new taxes and things of that nature. Did any of us show up at the White House? I didn't go, you know, and things of that nature. So I don't know if I personally believe a lot of things. I mean, I look at, who is it, Bernie now promising to, I think, get rid of student loan debt or things of that nature. If he were to get into office, honestly, I don't know if that would ever happen. So would people, you know, be upset? I'm in a situation where I don't have any student loans. I've paid my stuff off many years ago. So if it didn't happen, and so I guess we're kind of talking about the same things where candidates nowadays, they're promising maybe no new taxes, we'll take care of your student loans. Andrew Yang promising us what, $1,000 or whatever it is. And if these people get into office, I don't know. I don't know if I believe any of these people. So
Well, let me back up with the Bernie Sanders thing because I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter. I was the first election before I voted for Trump, and you can talk to me about that later. Here's the thing. He did unveil a plan. And one of the things that he said was he's going to do it through taxing transactions on Wall Street. That's part of the plan. He gave a very clear plan. I'm not going to try to go into it now. I want everybody to go through it on their own. But he made it very clear where the money is going to come from. And it's not going to come from regular working class people. But he didn't just say, hey, I'm going to do it. He said, here's how I'm going to do it.
I'll have to take a look into that. But I don't know. I don't have any student loans anymore. So
congratulations.
There's some years, man.
Brother Patrick.
So just kind of, it's not that I don't like where we're going with this conversation, but I do have to interject one thing that I think maybe we kind of have this conversation on backward, because I think what you were looking for in the beginning is something about, a little bit more about the elected official or the candidate to elected office trying to essentially bribe the constituency to get in, which another B word for bribery could even be something like barter, because it's then a transaction. Whereas the bribery that we're talking about in this case, I think we've kind of got this on backwards, and we're talking about the bribing of officials. And I think what you wanted to focus on, Watt, was a little bit more about officials bribing their constituency, as it were. And of course, I'm using bribery, and it's a very charged word. And that's not necessarily what it is in all cases. It could just be a simple transaction between the elected official and their constituents. But the other thing that I did want to say was following along with what BMT was saying, as far as putting somebody up who is good for the job, irrespective of whether or not they want it. I think that's the way our political process and our elected offices should be filled anyway. My brother-in-law and I have spoken on several occasions where we say, okay, here's the new law. If we're God for a day, if we're king of the world, here's the new law. If you want to be involved in politics, you are automatically disqualified. You cannot be involved. Nobody who wants to be there should be allowed there, because it's a system that takes, honestly, I think there's a lot of people out there who get into politics who are well-intentioned and then get involved in the system, especially at the higher levels. I'm talking, state government levels and federal government levels and whatnot, who end up, becoming a product of that environment. And that environment is a lot of an economy of influence and trade in just whether or not, I'll scratch your back or you scratch mine, and we'll all end up millionaires on the backs of the public. People who don't want to be involved in politics, but are the best man for the job, are probably the perfect people for that. Somebody who should just say, okay, it's my civic duty to do it, and the people have voted for me, so I guess I'll do it even though I don't want to. That really is just a personal opinion. I think that's the way the political system should work, because there are so many people that get in and it's like, oh boy, now I can really, get some stuff done, because we've all heard and we've all seen, I think, a lot of people getting very upset about, especially these very high level politicians who get a salary for life after a simple 4-year term, who have insurance benefits and all sorts of other ancillary things that they have access to for the rest of their lives off of a single 4-year term that the public is paying for. Now, of course, I'm speaking exclusively about the American political system, and we're not really bringing in other political systems from other countries and whatnot. But there's definitely some flaws there. But circling back around and handing the mic off to the next person, Watt, I think we were talking, as I said, a little bit more about the transaction between the candidate and their constituency, and whether or not that could be termed bribery, and how far that should go. Correct?
That's a very fair analysis. Because we often forget something that you just brought up. When we are bartering, we're not just bartering with them for their term as an elected official. One of the reasons that people fight so hard to become, I believe the lowest level can be maybe a statesman or congressman, but there's a level at which once you achieve it in politics, your family's health insurance and salary, modest though it may be by some standards, is guaranteed forever. And that's something we don't talk about. And it doesn't matter what political affiliation you're in. It's one of those no good. I believe it was Marcus Aurelius who said no good man can become king. No good man can become emperor. By the way, yes, Dave, for life. Was it Marcus Aurelius?
It may have been.
Yeah. For the record, if anybody wants to have a copy of the book Meditations, let me know. I'll send you a copy. It's one of the best books by a Stoic philosopher ever. He's one of the classic good kings, good emperors. So if anybody wants a copy, let me know. But that's you're right. I think we're talking about things that have different names. Perhaps I used a bit of an inflammatory title. What I can definitely say though is we're talking about the same concept. We're talking about the exact same context. We're talking about, hey, wait a minute. What do I get if I give this guy something that's going to benefit him and his family forever? And most people don't know that. And I don't care if there's a reason that no one discusses this because it benefits every political affiliation, of which there are only two major parties. And that's something
Right.
we need to bring to the table. We need to publicly say, I'm giving you a position that will guarantee your family doesn't suffer through a health, and we talked about healthcare issue for the rest of their life. When we have people in the United States dying because they don't get insulin. And insulin, the people who invented insulin openly said, we want this to be for free forever. Uh-oh, hold on, let's see. The U.S. federal government gives lifetime benefits to members that have been in office for like 10 years of service, I think. Let's just say it's 10 years. Let's say I'm wrong. Let's say it's not one term. Let's say it is 10 years. 10 years of work for a lifetime of benefits. That's one hell of a motivation to get elected.
It it is. It is. I mean, again, I think, and let's use the alphabet people. Okay,
The who?
The alphabet people, which we're calling them that alternate lifestyle. They wanted fair housing where
Wait,
they could be
wait. I don't understand who we're talking about.
different
LGBTQ and the rest.
I just call them alphabet people. There's so
That's what
many.
they call the
Yeah,
alphabet people.
yeah.
Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle.
Now, here's the thing. When you say alphabet people, alternative lifestyle, you could be talking about BDSM.
Trust me, they all want it. They all want this.
That's the thing. You got to be clear with our acronyms. Because
Okay. So the LGBTQRS, where
Plus.
I think they added on more letters now. They wanted fair housing, where them and their mate are recognized as a marital spouse, as well as they also wanted health care. I believe another issue that came up was if their spouse is dying or their lover is dying, at one time they could not make that call for their mate. It wasn't given to them because they weren't recognized. It was something that had to be given to the family. So hopefully your family loved you enough to say keep them on life support. If not, that other mate can't say no, keep them alive. Because they weren't recognized. If you look now at the Democratic side, they've already opened for them that if you were married certain years back, but you weren't recognized, you now can get your tax refunds as a recognized couple. That's a big deal because now that shows that guess what? Us on the Democratic side, we're supporting you in your lifestyle, your alternate lifestyle. Now, be that it may, those people, and I mean, those people, they showed up to Washington and were fighting those battles for, hey, I've been doing this. I'm a member of society. Why are y'all not treating me the same or fairly? That would be one of those low bar minority pools that we're talking about. Because the LGBTQ is not a big group, but they're a small minority group. However, their influence is pretty big in different areas. So they understand that where we may not be big at, we'll push our dollars at. We'll put our money there. Or we'll put different stationaries and stuff there. And another thing right now that we see a fluctuation in is now immigrants. I've seen more Latin-based people come out and start voting conservative. And I'm like, dang, where the hell y'all came from? I ain't see y'all ever. But they're looking at it now where you're looking at it for the first generation and second generation who are in the country, like, okay, my parents had to go without health care. I can vote because I was born here and my kids need to vote. But they're heavily communal based of their community. So they're going to vote towards a type of condensed conservative, let's keep a traditional type of base.
A lot of Americans don't know that when, particularly from Latin American countries, be it Mexico or deeper south from Brazil or any South American country, a lot of people in America don't know they vote conservative. They consider themselves conservative because they come from countries that are religion-based, particularly Catholicism, and they've been taught from childhood, vote this way, even if the way they're voting, much like a lot of Black people in America, even if the way that they're voting will never help them or their children.
Right. Like it's very heavily based. I saw Catholic church a Catholic bus rolled up. They all came out. They put they had their station set up. You gotta understand. You gotta one thing you gotta learn. You gotta learn how to. My mentor told me, politics is like theater. You got to learn how to appease the audience. You got to learn. Caesar was great at learning how to come to the soldier level. If they ate outside, Caesar ate outside. If they slept outside, Caesar slept outside. In other words, he knew how to identify with the lowest soldier to inspire them to follow him. And that's going to seize the day nowadays because we're looking at it from this is where the bribery game, because let's be for real, America's getting tired of the bribery. So now they want, I need the man who is Caesar for the people. I need that guy who is stoic enough to say, I was flipping burgers, I was picking up trash cans, and doing all that stuff. That's what millennials, and this is why we're seeing these factions or groups and traditionalism starting to collide. And that's why I say the bribery, no, this is a good topic, Yusef. I don't disagree with it because bribery is a big problem that is now starting to collide in the US base. But now that we have different factions of ideologies coming into the country every day now, they're looking at it like, wait, hold up, dude. I've seen how this works in my country. It's not going to work very well in y'all's. And so they tell their children, stay away from that guy. Go to that guy right there who's talking about education, healthcare, and food. That's what you need to bring back to us. So these kind of things, though it is used, you know what I'm saying, but the Warren Buffetts and them, they're dying off. They're getting old. So
yeah,
now
but the next generation is already there. Let me back up for a second.
Go ahead. My bad. I didn't mean to talk too long.
No, that's okay. While you were talking, Gonway had something that flashed across his face. I didn't know if it was good news or bad news, but I wanted to get him an opportunity to jump into the pool.
I mean, I would say the one thing, the word bribery, it really depends on the group of people you're talking about. Because let's just say candidate A goes to community one's district and says, or ethnic group and says, look, I know you guys are, you guys will have this, you don't have that. I'll give you this if I can guarantee your vote. And going back to what Patrick was saying, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the line, it depends on where you fall on either side. Are you on the reciprocating end? Are you on the receiving end? Or are you the group that is on the outside looking like, well, damn, he's giving them, laptops, a bag of rice, and steak lobster dinners for a vote. And I'm over here, I ain't getting nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's really, as far as what BMT was saying, it's really getting more polarizing because now we're seeing groups explicitly. Before it was kind of general, you know what I'm saying? When I was growing up, as far as buying votes or bribery, I would say it was more covert and it was less in your face. Now, especially with this coming election, it's definitely more, the groups are more targeted, it's more overt. So, I mean, is it bribery? I would say it just depends on where you fall. I mean, because if you're, for example, let's just say the free healthcare thing and how some of the Democratic candidates are saying, illegal immigrants should get free healthcare. to standard Americans, they'll say, "Yo, you're bribing votes. I'm here, my whoever's spouse has lupus or has cancer and they can't get help, but someone that's not born in the United States, they get to come in with no papers, and all of a sudden, they can get a perfect bill of health from day one. That's not fair." So, what I'm saying, but the person who's getting it may not think so. So I think it really is a hot button issue, to be honest, because like I said, growing up, let me see if I can remember a president. I probably wasn't even old enough to remember most of that stuff. I mean, I'm almost 30, but it just seems more polarized now than it was.
Almost. Like, remember when you're a kid and you're like, I'm almost 9?
I'm almost old enough to remember some of that stuff. But I mean, I don't know. And going back,
watch this guy way. If you're almost 30, that means as a man, you're almost old enough to know the stupid decisions you're going to be able to make now. Because under 30, you make bad decisions. We make bad decisions and then convince ourselves they're a good idea. Over 30 as a man, you're going to do the same dumb shit. But you'll be able to say, oh, now I know it's a bad idea.
Hey, guys, I've got to run off this line. I got a conference in like 4 minutes. So it was good being on here with you guys. I hopefully we can do this again.
Miss you. Love you.
All right. Take care.
You guys.
Okay, so I'll take a moment just while there's a lull in the action here to definitely agree with what Ganwei was saying, that it does depend on your perspective. If you are the person that is receiving whatever was promised, then to you that's a fair trade because that was the agreement. Somebody came to you and said, "I will give you this for your vote." You gave them their vote; they pay off on that, and so that is fair. But you're right. The next community over, somebody who didn't get that deal because the candidate doesn't necessarily care about that particular community or knows that they do not have a possibility of getting a majority vote in that community and hence will not carry that district or community, whatever it is. And so never decided to even extend that offer to that person. It does look like they're bribing the community across the street because that was not offered across the board. So let's say, the community A is, a community where it's a battleground. And, I have to get that district if I'm going to get this office. But community B is safely mine. I don't have to offer people in community B anything because they're going to vote for me anyway. It's the people in community A that I have to lobby. It's them that I have to make promises to in order to carry that battleground area, that, whatever it is, community or district or whatever have you. Those are the people that I have to lobby. And, so, I mean, obviously the person that is running for the office is thinking about how best do I deploy the assets that I have so that I can get the maximum bang for my buck out of the voting public. But yes, it is that perspective of either, yep, it was a fair trade, or hang on, I never even got the opportunity to make that trade. And so I think it's bribery. I was left out.
And that bit of nuance is that's the whole game. That tiny bit of nuance that says you're right. To the people who didn't get that bag of rice, it looks like you were cheating. But to the people who did, they say we got something. And that's the way, well, now we're going to get into the issue of gerrymandering. The reason you have to campaign in such a weird way is because every few years, every political affiliation tries to change the districts to make it impossible for people who may actually have a majority vote to actually use that majority vote by saying, well, no, the person across the street is in a different district, even though you two are neighbors and share the same political value. So you two don't get to even vote in the same area.
Right. Isn't that the reason why we're having an issue now? Like, we have dreamers and then we have poor people. And isn't that why we're having the big issue now? Because you have it where we'll have the US-based child and then you'll have the dreamer child.
Well, no, you got to tell people what dreamers are. You can't assume everybody watching.
Okay. So dreamers is a plan for a first generation immigrant child that they are offered healthcare, school-based advantages as far as going to school. They can go for community college and different restitute of systems that are given to them. welfare. I think they get food stamps would count for welfare in a sense, and different things like that. Versus my children or any children who are born in the U.S., they actually have to apply, and they can be deferred in some instances for those types of things, because if I have a certain income or things like that. So it sometimes feels like the kid who's not U.S. based is more so giving more so of more opportunities than the person that you should automatically be allied to. And that's what according to what Patrick and Ghana were saying, that's what's causing the big rift. That's one of the biggest briberies in the country now is the dreamers. Do we keep the dreamer kids now that their parents are gone, or you know what I'm saying, or how do we handle this now? Because we already know that the affirmative action and college, that's now causing a major rise of debt. However, dreamer kids, they don't pay for school. They just got to behave, stay out of trouble.
Wait. I'm gonna need, I'm gonna need some evidence on that one. That you're telling me dreamers do not pay for college.
No, I did. They don't. It's literally part of the program. That's literally part of the program of how they were securing deals. Like, we'll take care of y'all. We just want the votes. They've been finding that in certain like sanctuary states now, like they can do the same thing just like any U.S. based citizen can. Not saying they don't pay taxes, but as far as it goes, that how's the best way to say it? The accountability is not the same how it would be. But we've been finding certain businesses have been getting caught for hiring illegals, and giving them opportunity that, as far as Ghana, Patrick, and I should have been given, we can't get, because you're low diffing paying somebody something that is not feasible for the average U.S. citizen to have to work for and pay. Like, there's no way to tell me,
Okay, so
I mean, I can pull it up for you if you need me to.
Well, yeah, because I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go with the Sagan standard on this one. I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna pull out my classic Carl Sagan meme for this one. Some of you may be familiar with it. I'll show you. Because saying somebody is getting free education, that's a big deal. You see that? Let me give you a larger one, because that one seems kind of small.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time pulling that one up.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? What is that? I didn't even know it was a meme in the first place. I was like,
Carl Sagan, familiar with him?
Oh yes, familiar with Carl Sagan. Just the there we go.
Yeah, because what Carl Sagan said: extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So if you claim that this is the best hamburger in town, hey, I don't really need any proof on that. But if you're telling me that there are entire swaths of people that simply get free education, I'm going to have to go to Carl Sagan. Dr. Carl Sagan always said, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and this is a place where I try to have an evidence-based discussion. So if you're telling me that the dreamers are getting just scot-free education, I need some numbers on that. I need somebody I can point to. If anybody in the crowd wants to support that claim as well, please. I'm here for answers. I'm here for answers. Now, let me see. Okay, DACA cannot get federal aid, but they can get aid on a local level for college, he said.
Okay, DACA. So that would then, really feed into the conversation that we're talking about here, because maybe your giant political talking heads and elected officials can't necessarily avail themselves of that particular voting base, but on the local level, it would seem that they can. People are definitely trying to capitalize on that by saying, okay, well, I can't get all of the dreamers in the country to vote for this presidential candidate, but I can get all of the dreamers in this neighborhood to vote for me.
I have it right here.
Well, it's by proxy, though. So if you, let's say it's a Democratic president or whoever, it's the Democrats lobbying for DACA, right? So the president's Democrat. The president can insist that, DACA recipients should be able to receive, you know, they should get more aid. Well, obviously, federally, they can't do that, but they can certainly have those congressmen and those representatives pull their strings and do what they have to do, so the aid in those local levels, state levels can be increased. So, I mean, we can. What he says, DACA is not federal. Sure, that's very true, but it doesn't mean that, you know, that it's not. It wouldn't be somewhat of an equivalent of receiving a bribe, you know, and what BMT was saying, what Patrick was saying. So, I mean, it's really just by proxy. There's always a way around I mean, if we're talking about a guideline where the federal government can't give DACA recipients money, well, you know, that's almost like saying that you can get one free item at the grocery store, and you took the free item and you're like, damn, I want another one. And then you're like little sisters with you, and you say, oh, well, go give me one of those. And she go get you one. You know what I'm saying? It almost the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but go ahead, BMT. I just want to chime in on that.
Yeah,
Let me show everybody real quick. DACA is Deferred Action for Childhood Arrival. That's also called Dreamers. They're people whose parents brought them to the United States illegally, but they grew up as an American speaking English since before they even knew they were children. There are plenty of cases of people who had no idea that they were in the country illegally, or that their parents were, because they weren't even born there, or all of them were illegal because they were never told. Now, let me back up for a second. Here we go. Can you show me BMT? Can you pop it up on the screen? You should have that as an option.
Yeah, share screen. Okay.
Yeah. And on the right side, you'll have a show tab, and it'll let you go to whichever tab specifically you want to show. That way, I don't have to accidentally look at your whole desktop, because, you know, if somebody saw my entire desktop unfiltered, you might need counseling afterwards.
Okay,
Pictures
so
from
can
Red
y'all
Rocks?
see where it says college? It says college education for dreamers. And
Okay, go ahead.
And I put it in the also put it in the private chat, but also you can also get the link. So the college education.
No, just pop it up on the screen so we can see it.
Can y'all see it? I thought y'all can see it.
No, I can't.
No.
How do I just
you click share screen?
Yeah, I thought I clicked it. I didn't do it correctly. Share screen in this tab for streaming. It says
there
stop.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we got it. Now we got it working.
Okay,
Shazam.
so this is Citizens Path. This is Citizens Path, right? Immigration forms made simple. So, and you literally can contact them to select the language. There is an estimated 6,500 undocumented students who graduated from U.S. high schools this year. Although in education in U.S. public schools through grade 12 is guaranteed by law, most, if not all, undocumented students face legal and financial barriers to higher education. Improvements are slow, but change is underway, making college education attainable for dreamers. So,
but I'm asking for the part where they said they give them money.
Actually, it's a sanctuary state. As you go read through it, if you, depending on what state you land in, or if you're in there, like California, you can get financial aid. Like, they give you financial aid and stuff. Like, though that's right. That's a big argument, because you're giving somebody who's not a U.S. citizen financial aid, and that's been a big issue. Because if it's a sanctuary state, like Chicago's a sanctuary state, there's different states that are sanctuary states where that child, even if they're not a U.S. citizen, they have the same access that a child who may not be able to go. So also they can also look at and apply for affirmative action. Like California does it, Hawaii does it. Let's see what else. Minnesota does it.
So let me back up. So what we're saying then is not that they're just going to get a handful of cash. What we're saying is that they may, in some states, be eligible for the same financial aid anyone else gets. That's a possibility for them.
Correct. They're eligible for that, if not more.
Yes, and I would agree with actually exactly what you're saying there, BMT. Is what he's saying is that these people, simply by dint of the fact that they were not born here, are actually having an easier time and have a quicker access to things that normal people don't necessarily get. Take, for example, just to kind of bring it into context, your Idol or America's Got Talent, or these shows here. What's going to sell? What's going to give these people the most opportunity to succeed? And you've seen it if you've watched any of these. Is if somebody has a talent that they're espousing on the TV and saying, yeah, I can sing or I can dance, whatever have you, their success rate is more linked to whether or not their story is compelling. If they're just a normal person trying to get on TV and make a go of their talent, they're actually going to get less votes from the general viewing public than someone who lost a parent or is physically disabled or something of this nature. So it's the level of sob story, essentially, that you're able to bring to bear on the situation actually gives you more marketability to the masses. And I think that's what BMT is saying here. These DACA folks, just because they can say, oh, poor immigrant me, I'm being persecuted left, right, and center. Can you help me? That the system that's out there right now is more willing to help those children than children who were born and raised here, who have absolutely nothing special about them. They just say, well, yes, I grew up in the United States. I went through the public schooling system. I have parents. They're nice people. They're both alive. Nothing tragic has ever happened to me. Yet I want to go to school too. But that person is less compelling than the person that was, that was not born here. And because of things like this, there are people who are far more interested in making sure that those perceptually or perceivably disadvantaged folks succeed, and not necessarily the normal average, what I would say is average American who, was born in this country and went through the education system as it was, with nothing special happening to them.
Wow.
Because we're in love with David and Goliath.
Yes.
Right? Because that's all these dreamer kids, they're David. All right. And that's the story that we tell. But you realize that's one story. That is only one story, because 99 times out of 100, Goliath is beating the snot out of David. But nobody tells that story.
What are the politicians getting out of helping people who, because they are not documented, they cannot vote? So
Loyalty.
that's my
Loyalty.
Wait.
Loyalty.
That's right.
Loyalty.
That's right. Long-term loyalty. And they're investing in the future. They're investing in the next generation of voters, because if you say, hey, you can stay and your kids can vote, then the kids are going to grow up with stories about how great that guy was and how great the party that he serves was. And that's how you build that institutional loyalty.
You don't need bribery after that. Once you already said, because of Senator Patrick, you guys are able to eat, I scrub toilets, you now work at a law firm, you now own department stores, it's because of him. So anybody that Senator Patrick says vote for, blindly, that's it. We're not questioning it, because he paved the way for us. That is the ultimate. That's the ultimate tier of indoctrinated bribery. You don't have to. There ain't nothing else you got to do after that. That's like how you said that district that you don't have to fight for anymore, because that's how you get those politicians who sit in seat for so long. They're not worried about ever getting upseated, because it literally you struck at the core. Once you got grandma and papa already on board, and they tell all the kids, listen, this is who you vote for. I don't care what else y'all feel. You vote for that person. And this right here, like California did this since 2001. A lot of their politicians have been in office. They ain't going nowhere. Some of these states, this is an older list. Some of these states have already changed. Texas is already on board. Different states have already started doing this, where they're taking the lower tier person who comes from an impoverished area, and they've been saying, listen, how about we allow for you to vote? I think they're even opening it up where in Florida, they're going to allow for felons to vote, felons to be able to vote.
Which is a good idea. You shouldn't lose your right to vote after you paid your debt to society. I mean, that's an indignity.
I would agree with that.
I
Use that
agree.
right to
I
vote
agree
while
with you
you're
that.
paying the debt, but then afterward,
Let them
that should be reinstated.
Reinstate them back in. No, but see what they were doing was they found out they had it where they're like, hey, how's this person voted and this dude is still incarcerated right now? How did he vote? Like, let's do how he.
Wait.
How did he get to the vote?
You're telling me that they had voter fraud, which is an issue, but it's such a tiny issue. I've seen inflated over and over again that voter fraud is big. No, I don't see voter fraud as actually swinging elections. Pat, are you looking something up there?
Yes, I was. I was just I was actually fact checking some of the stuff that we talked about earlier with the whole golden fleece thing.
Please share this. I love the analogy of golden fleece.
Yes. Yeah, well, the Golden Fleece retirement program, et cetera, and so forth. And I just actually was looking, the wonderful site that just loves to debunk stuff and make sure people are telling the truth, Snopes, that talks about, whether or not congressmen and senators have to pay into the Social Security system. And there's definitely some interesting information there. The general idea being, at the end of the day, that as congressmen or senators or whatever have you, they definitely have it better than your average individual. But I have to say that maybe some of the things that we were saying earlier that we thought might be the case, as far as these public servants after a single term or a short amount of service being able to simply ride off into the sunset and never have to worry about anything again, are not quite as accurate as we were thinking, although the balance is still tipped in their favor. They do have to pay in certain percentages of their salaries. Let's see, members of Congress have to pay up to about 6.2% of their salaries, up to the Social Security wage base of $106,000. Into Social Security, they also have an additional 1.3% of their full salary goes into a civil service retirement and disability fund, which is all senators and congressmen and things of this nature have to contribute to this thing. They do not draw the same pay until they die. However, based on their length of service, they can get almost 80% of the salary that they had at the time of retirement, but no more, because that is controlled by federal statute. So I just wanted to do a real quick fact check there, and definitely make sure that I wasn't spouting off things that are completely untrue. We still do have, like I say, a system that is weighted a little bit in favor of those folks who do go into public service, but maybe that's one of the carrots to get people involved in the political system, is that you can retire well. Who knows? So anyway, I do have to take a brief halt. I'm going to go away, and I will be right back with you.
Okay. Go ahead and mute yourself. That way we don't have to hear you flush the toilet, which he did not do on the way out. You're muted, Gonway, right?
So, and like I said, I agree with what you're saying, Yusef. I think at some point, if you're in politics long enough, you are going to start becoming skewed. Like the blade starts becoming less sharp, and you're going to get sharpened by other stones. And yeah, it does happen.
Well, let's do this real quick. I want to do two things. Since we were just talking about careers and things of that nature. Let's see. First, Gonway, do you have your website back up yet?
Nope. I'm working on some other things. I'm working on programming. So I would say I give it 2020. I'll put it back up. I haven't forgotten about it. I've been thinking about it, but I say 2020 needs to be on the lookout for that.
Okay. So I'm going to do a few things. One of the things I'm going to do is I want to show everybody BMT's channel, because the cool thing about the internet and YouTube is you can have more than one person that you like to listen to and watch. Black Male Talk is his channel, and he does a lot of interesting conversations, and he does a lot of conversation that just come from the heart. It's unscripted. There's no nonsense behind it. You don't have to like him or agree with him, but I'm saying this is somebody that can give you some information that you may not have had before. And I want to go ahead and share his screen with everybody so you guys can just YouTube Blackmail Talk and check him out. You know, he's I can say this guy's a family man who talks about real everyday man stuff that we need to be thinking about. So definitely check him out. The other thing I was going to tell you is, and this is something I always tell people, I don't make money on YouTube. I do not make any money on Google. My job, I am an editor, ghostwriter, resume writer is a big one that I've been doing. If I can help anybody watching this to do anything they need done on a professional English level, contact me. That's my bread and butter as I travel the world. I'm going to show you guys. You can find me here. You can also find me, where are we going to go? You can also catch me on LinkedIn, where you can see things that I've done in the past, some of the references from clients and things that I do. Looking forward to doing business with a lot of great people. This career has sustained me traveling the world because I'm very detail oriented and I'm very good at what I do. So I'm looking forward to contacting a few more people. And I do that because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to set up some YouTube agreement where they're watching my channel to see if I say the word dick too often in my podcast so they can demonetize me. And I'm not going to be blah, blah, blah on Google so they can. No, I'm just going to be who I am and have these great conversations, you know, with a lot of really quality people. And that's why I enjoy having so many of you around. You know, that's. Let me back up. Gonway, I know you said you don't have your website back up. Tell me about your programming endeavor, what you're working into right now.
I'm studying Python 3 right now. It's going good. You know, it's very it's challenging. It's a new challenge. So I welcome it. Sometimes I'm like, damn, I really don't feel like doing this shit today. But I know that the end result is going to be far, far, far more rewarding than this little patch of I don't feel like doing it that I'm going through right now. But I like it though. I'm always the kind of person that looks for a new challenge. Like music for the first, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years was my challenge. That's all I did, and I got really good at that. Got enough buzz around that. I was like, cool. And then it was stand-up comedy for a few years. I was like, I like it, and then life happened, and then now I'm just like, all right, I'm do programming, but this is more for like career based. Like I'm kind of getting into the space of my mind where I know where I want to settle down at least what catalyst I want to use to build to build my wealth up, or at least build my what is it? What word am I looking for? Like my capital up, my workplace capital. Like what kind of what kind of things can I do to bring myself a livable wage or just make. I mean, with Python, you can get fucking money anywhere. Like Python is one of those things where you can get a job in any country in the world if I so choose. So that's kind of something where I figure I do for right now, and then once I master that or get good at that, we'll see what the next mountain to climb would be.
Excellent, excellent. BMT, you want to give us a quick insight into what you're doing besides your channel?
Also, I believe me and you have a little project that
Yeah, our anime project. Yeah,
and I'm very excited about that. And I've been literally taking notes. Me and Yusef, we have our little anime heart of fandom where we talk about anime and philosophies and comics. I think that's something that's pretty good. I think we also want to invite other people to participate with us. I think also I want to do a breakdown of the Joker movie and
yeah,
the mentality of that. That's going to be a really hard hitter one that we need to do. I encourage a lot of people to check it out. That's something that me and Yusef are going to be partnering on. That's something that I'm looking forward to. Also, this coming later on this year, I'm opening up the door towards doing interviews with anyone who's doing any type of business, philanthropy. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Doesn't matter your creed, color, who you are. I'm opening up the door to talk with you, and you share your story. I'm advertising it. I'm doing everything straight from me. I was blessed enough to I'm doing this now. So if you are the guy who sells hot dogs and Kool-Aid by the stop sign, I'm going to talk with you and give you your 15 to 30 minutes of fame of what's inspiring you. I mean, Yusef, he knows I'll interview him, Patrick, Ghana. It doesn't matter who you are. I want to have these talks on any and everything of what inspires people in everyday lives to do what they do. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something that we always overlook is the modern day man. And we don't need the million day man. We need the modern day man and what's his stoic journey of why he's doing what he's doing. So that's what I'm going to start doing and sharing that on both our channels. But also me and Yusef for right now, we're working on the foundation of comics and philosophy. So
Gotcha.
we're definitely.
Well, let's back up for a second. Thank you, Jesse. You said it looks like an all-star cast. I'm actually going to use that as a segue. Because this is normally the part where I would look at Patrick and say, "Who are you and what is your profession?" But I want to show you guys a suggestion that I have for Pat. Because here's the thing: we had a great conversation right here. I want everybody to go back and look at Blue Collar Wisdom. We went deep on that one and we had a great chat. I still got a lot of comments about it. I want to see more people check that out and leave any questions you have because Pat needs to have his own channel. Pat has had quite an experience in life and he's seen things and been there and done that. And I think sometimes because he's around a lot of other people who have as well, he doesn't value that experience and he's gained a lot of wisdom, to go with that beard that he's wearing. And I want to see him share more of that.
Well, I will definitely say, ever since that conversation that you and I had, there is something stirring in here. And I'm thinking more and more about doing something exactly along the lines of what you're saying of just, okay, let me get this out there. I have got some stuff to say, and it may not always be what you want to hear. It may not always be sunshine and rainbows, but I want to get it out there. And do my part to wake people up because I've had definitely moments of lucidity over the course of my life, but also some times where I've just sort of become complacent and really kind of fell asleep. And I want to take advantage of those moments when I am awake and say, hey, everybody else, you know what? Here's where I'm coming from, and maybe I can wake somebody else up as well. It was a fantastic time having that conversation. I find myself replaying some of that stuff in my head just while I'm doing my work. If I'm doing some busy work and my mind needs to be occupied elsewhere, and what you and I may have to talk about, how to outline that and how to bring that to life.
Absolutely. Well, here's the great part. The technical part will get done in about, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you'll have a page and a picture. I'll make a little logo for you. It's not hard. You just get someone that you find interesting, say, here's a link, and then you start talking to them, and that's it.
Right. And I think that's possible.
Read that, Pat.
Blue Collar Wisdom. Oh, my gosh. Phenomenal.
I definitely want to check it out. I definitely want to check it out. And
excuse me.
If you don't mind, Yusef, let me can I also show your that episode on my channel so that way.
Yeah, definitely. Go.
So just let me know when Patrick makes his debut. I definitely want to be there to support him.
We'll
appreciate that.
Around our Facebook and say, hey, check it out.
All right, I got you.
Yeah, at some point I'm definitely going to have to bring forth some kind of excuse me.
You okay there, buddy?
Yeah, just wrong pipe. But yeah, some sort of brainchild I will definitely have to birth out into the world, and we'll have to see where it goes. I mean, maybe it's a one-hit wonder, but then there may also be some more involved. But I'm looking forward to that. So just because I was gone for a few minutes, how exactly did we wrap up this conversation? Did we come down on whether or not it is ethically proper to be compensated for your vote and how we should tackle that?
I think that as we begin to wrap up the whole show, I want to hear. Well, first, Ganwe, how do you take that? Because I know where I stand. It's pretty evident. But I want Ganwe and BMT to go first.
All right. Well, there's two answers. Well, do you want the bullshit answer or do you want the straight answer? Because there's really two. The bullshit answer would be, well, of course not. Everyone should be able to secure votes by their character and by their charisma and all that good stuff. The The life answer is, it depends. I mean, I could say no, but then the next person who that person may appeal to, or who may want to buy whatever they're getting, they may not think so. So I mean, it's one of those things where it's a roll of the dice, and it depends on what number comes up. You know what I'm saying? So as for me, my personal opinion, I mean, you get in where you fit in, right? That's kind of what I learned growing up is, people are going to do what they got to do to get to where they got to be. And you can either sit there and be mad at them, or you can go and get yours. And that's kind of, as long as it's not like, well, if you're your group, I'll make sure you guys everybody gets 10 stacks in their bank account and you get tax breaks for my vote. And I'm sitting here working like a dog and I ain't getting shit. Then that's cool. But if there's little concessions here and there, I'll be all right. You know what I'm saying? So that's just me though. That's my opinion.
Amen. BMT.
Holistically, no, we shouldn't. The bribery system is what's really destroying us now, and it's really getting worse because now to vote is a civic duty of all the people in the country. That's it, and I feel like that's what's really setting us back because we're now at this self-indulgence era where if I don't receive nothing, then regardless if you're the right guy, I'm not going to put you there. But if this guy, even though I know he's the bad guy, but he's going to indulge my sins for what I want. And I know some people say, oh, get off your high horse, but let's be real. Look how far gone we are now. Like, communism's starting to look really good. And I'm not a communist person. I'm a capitalist person. But let's be for real. The bribery game is so far now where it's like, even you got little kids are like, what can you do for me? So I don't know, man. Like it's kind of hard to get us off the system because we've been on it for so long, and that's kind of how this nation was built off of the bribery system. So I can't. It's not like it'll be incoherent to say let's just get off of it, but it's going to be choose the lesser of two evils. I'm just going to be honest. Like you choose a Clinton or you choose a Trump, and literally it's going to come down to that again. Now it's like, hey, whose soul do you really want to sell out to right now? So I don't agree with the system, but I used to be ex-military, but I understand now just how the way the world works. It's just not a fair world anymore. So just find the one that's just more tolerant of arsenic or, mercury.
And here's where we continue to disagree. I don't think the world has changed. I think the smartest and best and the brightest have consistently demanded something for their vote. I think that the underprivileged and underrepresented communities are the ones who get to be taken for granted. They're the people who say, I'm going to vote. You don't have to give me anything. But because by holding politicians accountable is how we keep them in line. No one appreciates any relationship where one person has to give up nothing, has to contribute nothing. It doesn't have to be unethical, but it can be, listen, I need stuff from my people. You have stuff. I'm not going to vote for you if you don't give us stuff like you have for every other. I mean, you, BMT, brought up a situation where people who you feel are unjustly benefiting from the American system are getting something out of the system as an investment in their future. Why shouldn't every American first demand their pound of flesh from a politician? That's how I feel about it. So,
and I would say that's probably the most accurate. I mean, we can all, we can debate, and a certain ethical purity wherein no one should be compensated for their vote, that everybody they should vote their conscience and they should vote their particular set of morality and those moral values and that kind of thing. But it's just not realistic because you cannot compel ethical education into everyone, and you cannot compel the same set of ethics into everyone. So I would definitely say that, yes, the people should, if they're intelligent, get that pound of flesh from their politicians, because, the idea of kumbaya, as we said earlier, is just not practicable, because one reason that true infinitive communism will never work is because we as humans instinctually believe, a lot of us instinctually believe, that there will never be enough to go around. Now, whether or not that premise is accurate or flawed, there will always be people who believe that. And as such, they will try to negotiate for more than their neighbor because they want to consider themselves like the ant and the grasshopper. The ant, the hard-working individual who is part of a collective and plans for the future, versus the carefree grasshopper. And this is very old Aesop fable, of course. The grasshopper who says, well, we'll just take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and ends up in a very dire circumstance, in need of help. So I would say that, yes, the smart money plays the way the ant plays and says, you know, prepare for the future, get your pound of flesh, try to get your stockpile together, take care of your tribe, and not necessarily everybody on the planet, because you're not going to be able to take care of everybody on the planet, nor is anybody else on the planet very interested in taking care of you. They're interested in taking care of themselves. We're tribal by nature. The idea that we all share this planet and that we are all equal is laudable. It definitely is. But instinctually, we will shy away from that message, that kumbaya worldwide single organism message, and say, well, I don't know 7 billion people. I know 5 people, and I want to take care of those people, not 7 billion.
And I think that's beautiful. I think that's beautiful. Listen, I love you all. Thank you for such a great conversation. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and I hope all of you get to come back soon.
Fantastic. I enjoyed it.
All right, guys. You should see an end broadcast pop up on your screen. You never know. Talk to you.